in leading the Chamber Board, and the great work of Peter Quigley in putting this year's conference together. And what an appropriate theme for plus action plus tools equals impact. And I think that really fits for today's address by the governor, because what she's going to be talking about is getting things done. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan is delighted to be the diamond sponsor, again, of this year's conference, and we think it aligns with our guiding principle of how we bring people together to create great partnerships and to collaborate, and that's what it takes of us all working together. And of course, we have to talk about our mission around access and affordability and making sure that we're taking care of people's health. And we're going to talk about those accomplishments in a moment, and a few of her accomplishments that I'd like to highlight. She will be giving us her 7th address today, but in her first 6.5 years, she has signed almost 1,500 bipartisan bills. She has, thank you, she has created 6 balanced state budgets and is working collaboratively on the 7th. She has worked to create almost 40,000 good-paying auto jobs and has laid the foundation for other sectors like medical devices, healthcare sciences, clean energy, among others. And if you talk about this governor, you know you have to talk about infrastructure. And by the time this construction season ends, she will have completed the work on 24,500 lane miles of roads and 1,900 bridges. Now, if you're like me, you probably feel like you've sat behind orange barrels in almost 24,000 of those miles. But that's what we ask her to do, and that is what she is doing. But when you think about her healthcare achievements post-COVID, she worked her administration quickly to make sure Medicaid redeterminations happened quickly and efficiently to make sure people stayed on the rolls. She created the Prescription Drug Task Force and is working on those recommendations. She had a significant focus on maternal health, and we've heard about the great RX Kids program that has resulted as part of that. And she created programs for healthcare workers to recruit, train, and keep those healthcare workers that we so need in this state. All of those accomplishments are about getting things done, and I hope you had a chance to read about many of them in her bestseller, True Gretchen. But she's here to talk more about that and how she'll continue to get more things done. It's my pleasure to introduce our 49th governor of the state.
50th year here, isn't it? Unbelievable. Hello, everybody. It is great to be back here at MPC, and it's hard to believe it is the 7th year I've given this address. This afternoon, I want to jump right in and talk a little bit about our ability to do hard things. Some people call it grit, and our willingness to work together in the short term to get things done that make a difference in the long term. That's what it's all about. You know, Michigan is a diverse state in every sense of the word, but it's our ability to unite around shared priorities that makes us special. We solve problems that others write off as unsolvable. We prove time and time again that we can do hard things. We all know that citizens across the political spectrum are frustrated. Broken promises, stagnating wages, increasing polarization leads to people listening to the loudest and angriest voice in the room. Michiganders deserve better. We cannot give in to the instant gratification that comes from cheap, divisive, anger-driven politics. We need leadership that provides certainty, executes a clear long-term strategy, instead of lurching from self-inflicted wounds to embarrassing controversy week after week. Historically, Michigan has been a model for doing hard things. Just look at the mighty Mac. We have worked across the aisle, between government at all levels, and across industries of all kinds to make meaningful, lasting progress. So please, let me highlight just a few of the hard things that we have accomplished together. First, I want to talk about Selfridge. Back in yes. Oh, we didn't put a picture of me and my new bestie up there, did we? All right, so back in 2014, the A-10 Warthogs at the Air Base in Macomb County were set to be retired. The clock was ticking and a lot was at risk without another fighter mission. After a decade of fierce, consistent Michigan advocacy, President Trump announced last month that Selfridge will receive a new fighter mission of F-15EX jets. This move protects 30,000 jobs, 5,000 military families, and $850 million of annual economic impact here in Michigan. For Michigan, this is a BFD. Saving Selfridge was truly a team Michigan effort. I advocated for the base in face-to-face meetings at the White House every year since I took office in 2019. And I won't lie, it made for some odd moments and some even odder photographs. But at the end of the day, we delivered. We saved an economic anchor of one of our state's largest and most prosperous counties. We bolstered all the other bases in Michigan, and we strengthened our growing defense and aerospace industries. Because we can do hard things. Moving on to Medicaid. Thank you. Moving on to Medicaid. You know, Medicaid is a lifeline for 2.6 million Michiganders, including 3 in 5 nursing home residents, 300,000 Michiganders living with disabilities, and nearly half the births in Michigan, including 84% of the deliveries at Detroit Children's Hospital. Last week, Republicans in the U.S. House passed legislation to cut hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicaid and SNAP. Now, these cuts would terminate health care for millions of our most vulnerable friends, family, and neighbors. It would threaten food that nearly 15% of Michiganders rely on to feed themselves and their children. Here in Michigan, we worked together to expand Medicaid. When the Affordable Care Act passed, I was the minority leader in the Michigan Senate. I knew we had to seize the chance to expand health care to hundreds of thousands more Michiganders. And you know what? Governor Snyder supported it too. And our only chance of getting it done was working together. Not everyone agreed with my approach, including some of my own colleagues who didn't want to give the governor a win. But I saw a generational opportunity to do something transformative. And I knew that we had to put our differences aside. I went desk to desk to get the votes to get it done. We created Healthy Michigan, which still covers hundreds of thousands of people today, because we can do hard things. Moving on to our workforce. For decades, we watched the evolution of work, and we knew Michigan needed to seriously upskill our workforce to compete for good jobs. This was a universal priority, and we had to take it seriously or risk losing businesses who needed a pool of skilled talent to move to or expand here in Michigan. Unfortunately, our policies had been heading in the opposite direction for years. Gutted funding for education, for public colleges and universities, made it less and less affordable for all and completely out of reach for too many. When I ran for governor, I prioritized higher education and skills training. And early on, I set our ambitious but achievable goal, 60 by 30, to have 60% of our adults earn a degree or certificate by 2030. Now, since I took office, we've been inching closer and closer to meeting it. By working across the aisle, we established the Michigan Reconnect, the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, and the Michigan Guarantee. So if you graduate high school or are older than 25, you can earn an associate's degree tuition-free right now. If you attend private or public, yeah. If you attend private or public university, you can save up to $27,500 right now. And since we established these paths, more than 100,000 Michiganders have used them to save money, to graduate, and to find a good paying job. 100,000 people. And when it comes to our 60 by 30 goal, we've gone from 45%, all right, that's what it was, 45% of our working age population with a degree or certificate to over 52%, despite a pandemic in the middle of it. You see, we can do hard things. And finally, a story from this year on minimum wage and paid sick time, a difficult issue that had been kicked down the road for a long time. I'm pleased that Democrats, Republicans, business, and workers came together earlier this year to pass a reasonable bipartisan deal. We raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour, 1 year ahead of schedule, which puts more money in the pockets of 700,000 workers. We increased the tipped minimum wage by the highest amount ever. We delivered paid sick leave, and we did all of this while maintaining flexibility for small businesses, ensuring that they could continue operating in Michigan without raising prices or laying people off. We can do hard things. So there's so much that we've done together we're celebrating. We protected abortion rights, expanded LGBTQ+ rights, passed common sense gun violence prevention laws. We raised our credit rating, paid down $20 billion of debt, and brought our rainy day fund to an all-time high. We're rolling back the retirement tax and quintupled the state match of the EITC. We slashed burdensome regulations on redeveloping brownfields and lowered the cost of R&D. And we will soon open the Gordie Howe International Bridge on the busiest land border crossing in North America. And just for the record, Michiganders love Gordie Howe and all Canadians, right? We can do hard things. To succeed, you got to be willing to work with people you disagree with about most things, to find what you can do together. It's the harder path to take in the moment, but it's always the right one. Success requires thinking about ways to help the whole team instead of just padding your own stats. And that's why I don't care much about headlines. What I care about is making headway. I have 19 months left in this office. I'm not counting down. It really is the best job in the world. I go to work every day to make the place that I love most in the world a little bit better. And as I think about how best to use the time that I have left, I want to lay out a few more hard things we got to do together. So let's start with our children. I believe that every child deserves access to a high-quality public education from pre-K through post-secondary. When I took office, we'd been underinvesting in education for decades, and we had wide funding gaps between public schools, as high as $400 per student. For years, we had been trying to fix it, and in 2021, we finally closed the funding gap in our public schools. Since then, we have raised teacher pay, cut retiree taxes, we expanded on-campus mental health resources, started feeding all 1.4 million Michigan public school students free breakfast and lunch. Our graduation rate, our AP class numbers, and career and tech education completion rates are at all-time highs. We can do these hard things. But let's be frank, we face a literacy crisis, not just here in Michigan, but across the country. Just a quarter of our fourth graders can read proficiently. That's not acceptable. Falling behind in reading follows you for the rest of your life. Literacy is statistically correlated to academic, financial, and physical health. And while this crisis impacts all our kids, I want to call attention to the fact that our boys are falling more behind than our girls. As a result, girls read at a higher level than boys, earn better grades, and are more likely to graduate, go to college, and earn more money. This is a hard problem to solve, and we're all juggling a lot. Parents are trying hard to make ends meet while raising their kids. Our kids have lived through a once-in-a-century pandemic and are being shaped by ever-changing technology. And Michigan's incredible public educators show up, work hard, care deeply about their students' well-being and academic achievement. We all need to work together to tackle the literacy crisis. The next hard thing we must do is make sure that every kid in Michigan can read. We must focus every education policy to meet this high-level goal until we hit it. As the State Board of Education hires their new superintendent, I urge them to pick a candidate with a proven record on literacy. We have built some momentum here. Late last year, I signed common sense legislation to use proven science of reading strategies, like phonics. It's how a lot of us learn to read. And we need to get back to it because it works. These new laws also require that our schools are testing for dyslexia so they can identify students who need extra help early on. Knowing how to read is an ordinary superpower that we all deserve to have. Let's do what it takes to get our kids back on track for the bright futures that they all deserve. I know we can, because we can do hard things. Next, let's talk about my favorite subject, the roads. We need to deliver a sustainable, long-term solution for local and state roads so folks can get to work, drop off their kids at school, run errands without blowing a tire or cracking an axle. I'm proud of the Rebuilding Michigan plan. We fixed our most economically critical highways and bridges. I know, it's caused a lot of traffic in Southeast Michigan. And yes, I've heard about 696. I'm sorry, and you're welcome. But as I said in my State of the State, Rebuilding Michigan was a temporary fix for a long-term problem. We need to fix our local roads, which have been underinvested in for decades. I'm grateful for the engagement on this issue all year long by members in the legislature of both parties. We're inching closer to a deal, but we're going to have to compromise to get this done right. It means new revenue and responsible cuts, too. Let's get it done while balancing our budget and not burdening the middle class. This year, we will. You know why? Because we can do hard things. And finally, let's talk about our ongoing efforts to bring more advanced manufacturing to Michigan. In just the last few years, we've secured projects across the state in several key industries, but I want to focus on semiconductor chips. We've all seen the devastating consequence of what a global shortage of chips can do. It forced our automakers to buy up parking lots and fill them with almost done cars awaiting chips. It jacked up prices on phones and computers and appliances. In the decade ahead, being able to, and in the decades, I mean, this is a long-term play. Being able to make chips top to bottom in America will allow us to stay on the cutting edge of AI. Whoever dominates this technology from design to production will win the 21st century. We can't afford to lose this race to China. We must win it. And to do so, we have to build more semiconductor chip fabrication facilities. They call these things fabs. Fabs are the most advanced factories on the planet. They take an enormous amount of time and resources to build. A single chip plant uses more steel than the Mackinac Bridge, 12 times more cement than Ford Field, more miles of cable than the Michigan coastline. All this work takes thousands of union construction workers around 2 years to complete. And once up and running, a chip plant supports thousands of good-paying local jobs. You see, chips are the brains of devices that we use every single day. They power the invisible systems that make modern life possible. They make trillions of calculations a second, allowing you to send a text, write an email, play music, or order delivery. They store information from your photos and documents to all our medical records and financial data. A chip plant is the kind of transformational project where a dad can work on pouring the foundation, his daughter can help wire it up to the grid, and his grandchildren can work inside making the chips the world needs. This is an intergenerational investment that makes an entire region an economic magnet, inspiring families to move here and put down roots. For a long time, the United States made 0% of the world's advanced chips. We ceded too much ground to foreign competition. And now, thanks to plants being built nationwide, we're growing fast. Michigan should get in on the game. I've been advocating for this directly with the Trump administration and their new U.S. Investment Accelerator. Together, let's land and start building a chip plant in Michigan by the end of next year. What do you say? It won't be easy, but that's okay, because we know how to do hard things. Over the past 6.5 years, I've found that leadership is about fighting hard, often quietly, for your big goals. It's your tolerance for taking a few punches to win the fight. Leadership is about your ability to do hard things. Today, I've outlined a few of the hard things we've already done and laid out 3 more: literacy, roads, and chips that we must do. As I wrap up, I want to take a moment to speak about the minute that we're living in. The only certainty about the next few years is uncertainty. And while there's a lot to celebrate about the work we've done and will continue to do in Michigan, much of our fate is tied to the decisions made down in DC. I know you all are trying to read the tea leaves and figure out how your business, your community, your family will be affected by the ever-changing national policy. As governor, I'm watching every twist in the tariff story, tracking ongoing efforts to strip billions out of Medicaid and SNAP, among so many other issues. And these are serious issues with huge stakes for Michigan, from workers in the auto supply chain to parents figuring out next month's budget. We can do hard things in Michigan, but we're also living in hard times. We have to acknowledge what's within our control and what's not. I can't control the global tariff war and its impact on our economy. Although every opportunity I get to go to the Oval Office, I will make our case. I can't control it, though. It will continue to be hard, but my commitment to you, as it has always been, will be to do everything in my power to move our state forward. I will work with anyone to make life a little easier for our families, our businesses, and our communities. That Detroit's population has grown again for the second time in nearly 70 years. It's incredible. This is going to be off the cuff, but I remember sitting in that audience and watching Bill Milliken give a speech from this podium, talking about as Detroit goes, so goes the state of Michigan.
Well, thank you, Governor. We can do hard things. You've been doing hard things. Picking up on that theme, I think, can you talk about some of the core leadership principles that you've embodied and are putting forward in order to keep doing good things?
Well, as I said, I think that this has been a tremendous time to lead. In whatever role you have, we've all been facing a lot of interesting challenges, tough things that we never could have imagined, and it sometimes feels like I'm strapped in a roller coaster that never stops and doesn't even follow the same path every time we go around. But I think that, the one thing that centers everything that I do, I think, is asking Michiganders, what's going on in your life? What can I do that'll make your life a little easier or better? What keeps you up at night? Mm-hmm. And then listening to what they say. People are not shy. Mm-hmm. They will tell you exactly what's going on, and I think that's helps center me on what we need to stay focused on. That, and I've got a tremendous team of people around me. I couldn't do this work without a phenomenal cabinet of great leaders, without Joanne and the whole team in my executive office. I mean, they're remarkable, and they, on the hardest days, still make this job one that I'm grateful to have.
The pardons. Do you want to talk?
Of key. So I remember when President Obama, when they would do the anger translator, Luther laws, and I often think about that. Like, I did all the interviews. They said, "How do you feel about this?" I said, "Well, I'm disappointed. My anger translator would use more colorful language." We should all apply in government as they do in business, as they do in your individual personal lives. And are good people doing the work. And I think that's something that we've all benefited. And states that are heavy in autos. That's us, right? Uniquely us. And so the question I'm always asking is, what can we do? What can we do? What's possible here? And it really was investing in your workforce, investing in your infrastructure, and diversifying your economy. And that's what literacy, roads, and a chip plant, that's what it's all about. Those are the same exact three things. And so I think it's good for business when we can do all of those, make efforts at the state level on all of those fronts, because we want Michigan to be a place that attracts people, attracts investment. I think we've done a lot of good, but there are some big issues we have yet to tackle.
For sure. And so in doing so, how do you think the role of technology, innovation, how do you think that plays in for job growth?
I think that there's so much possibility when it comes to AI. It's scary to some, and we're all trying to learn and consume as much as we can, but lives are going to be changing at such a rapid pace. It's just going to get faster and faster. And so these plants that take 2 years to build are going to be churning out chips that really are going to be foundational in terms of data centers, in terms of AI and all the technology that we're going to get more and more reliant on, that we're going to use to make our lives better, that we have to worry about in some regards, but I think there's a lot of positive potential here. We got to be on the cutting edge of it all. And just thinking about the applications in healthcare.
Absolutely.
First and foremost, but across government, across, there's so much potential here. And I would hate the thought of Michigan being left out from being in a leadership space. They need places that do advanced manufacturing. They need skills and talent. And, something that I hear frequently from business people who've got, plants in many different states is the Michigan workforce works. They're hard workers and take pride in our work. And that's not true of every person ever. But I think that that's another great asset that we have going for us. But technology and AI is, we've got to be in the mix. And we've got Hemlock Semiconductor and Bacher, who are doing great things with hyperpure polysilicon. Michigan's really unique. We've got a lot of the components, but we've got to be going from start to finish in chips here in Michigan. And that's what we haven't done yet.
Good. Tell me what gives you the most hope for the future of Michigan?
Oh, people. I love people, and I know that after the last election, I'll just be honest, I kind of had to turn off the TV and check out for a little while. I watched a lot of Dexter. I know, weird choice, right? Last time it was Ted Lasso. This time it was Dexter. But anyway. I had to check out for a little while. My girls were like, "Are you going to be okay?" I'm like, "Yes, I just need a minute to clear my head." But you know, I'm the governor of the greatest state in the nation, the greatest place on the planet. And I got to show up. I got to show up for Michigan. I got to go to the White House. I got to try to work with someone I worked really hard not to elect, you know, and build a relationship and, you know, smile when I'm not real happy about being at a press conference I never planned to be at. And yet, the people of Michigan expect their governor to show up no matter who's there. We all got to play the hand we're dealt as best as we can. And so I have hope because there's a lot of people out there doing the same thing.
So I guess last question, you referenced 19 months. We're not counting either. But 19 months, what's the one thing that you hope to get done?
Oh, God, if I don't say roads, you're going to run me out of town, right?
All right,
I'm going to say
policy isn't getting enough attention then?
roads and chips. That's
Okay,
what I want to get
okay,
done. I want
okay.
a chip plant and I want a road solution so that the next governor doesn't have to worry about that.
Good, great. Governor, thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
conversation for that. We're going to invite Tammy Carnrike and a few friends, Dennis, Sandy, Suzanne, up to the stage right now for a special presentation. We would ask everyone to hang with us on this. We're very excited. Thank you.
Governor, your theme music was way better than ours. I don't know who was responsible for that.
So as many of you know, Tammy Carnrike is starting a new chapter in her life, and we've brought some of her dear friends here to honor her for that. And what we know about Tammy is that Tammy shows up. We've heard the governor say show up. I use the theme, the world is run by those who show up. And Tammy has shown up in so many ways over her career, intellectually, physically, emotionally, in creating the brand and in building a really strong chamber. And for that, we want to honor her. And I will turn this over to you, Governor.
All right, well, I'm not going to hand this to you. It's always awkward to hold on to a tribute, but just wanted to say thank you for your leadership. It's been a joy working with you. My whole team feels that way, and we wanted to acknowledge everything that you've done to make this such a successful conference.
Well,
Thanks, Tammy.
thank you, Governor. And I was backstage talking to your staff saying, I'm here for you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Governor.
Thank you.
So, T,
Yes.
first of all, has Gregory really come here 50 years?
50 years, right, Uncle Gregory?
Wow, Godfather, thank you. I have not been coming here for 50, but I probably have been coming here for all of your 20. And what you've done for the chamber has been incredible. You mentioned leading by example. I want to read a quote, and then I'm going to invite, I have some surprise people virtually joining us on stage. But I want to read a quote that leading from the front means demonstrating what's expected, modeling behavior, going first, and guiding others by example. And that is how you have led, Tammy. Thank you. And because some of our friends couldn't be here, we've got a brief video that we're going to run now. Don't worry about it. It's not going to embarrass you.
Okay. This is it right here?
No.
Nope.
Is the Dennis Archer slideshow?
No, it's coming. It's coming.
Congratulations, Tammy, on your retirement from the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce and on your new venture. I've known you for over 20 years and know you to be the most professional, diligent, and capable individual, and I think that you're going to do just fantastic in your new venture. Once again, enjoy your new time, and I wish you the best of luck.
Tammy, I love you so much. Congratulations on an incredible run at Mackinac, the Detroit Chamber. I remember my first time there and how great it was, how wonderful you made it for me, how wonderful you make it for all of us. The The conference won't be quite the same without you. It'll find a way to reinvent itself, but you are incredibly special. We wish you nothing but the very best in all of your pursuits going forward, and we expect nothing but the same success that you generated for all of us here. God bless you. My only regret is that I'm not there. D. Archie, I love you. Boys, I love you, but Tammy, you made it the most special. God bless.
Awesome.
That was nice. Good boy.
Oh, you and Dan Campbell.
So on behalf of the current and past Board of Directors of the Chamber and all of the Mackinac Policy Conference chairs, we know that Tammy is our go-to, our right arm with sage advice. I would text or call Tammy at any hour with a problem as they arose, and she said, "I got you." And she did. Somehow she found a solution. But let me tell you who Tammy is at the core. We've talked a lot about the progress of the city of Detroit. But do you guys remember a Time magazine article in 2009 that was entitled "The Remains of Detroit"? Well, Tammy wrote an op-ed that challenged us, and she said, "We cannot change the conversation around the world about Detroit until we change the conversation amongst ourselves." And boy, was she right.
Forgot about that.
Well, Tammy, I didn't forget. Here we are in the midst of a transformational revitalization, and you were a key part of that.
Thank you, Suzanne.
So thank you so much, and we can't wait for your next chapter.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
So I will obviously have the opportunity, along with the rest of the Detroit Regional Chamber team, to say our how much we love Tammy and kind of send her off in style over the next several months. So I'm going to save my big comments for those later events. I'm going to
You just don't want to cry, Sandy.
Except for one thing. You all see Tammy in this very, very public role. What you don't see is how Tammy, for 20 years, has been an incredible mentor to the younger staff at the Chamber. And so many of those younger staff 20 years ago are now today's executive leaders, not just in our organization, but around the state and, frankly, around the country. So, Tammy, on behalf of all of us here, everyone raise your glasses. A toast
Oh, my God.
to our friend, to our leader, Tammy Carnrike. We love you.
Love you.
Cheers. 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 Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
G.
All right. Now, Tammy, now that we've got you a little drunk, time for you to take the stage.
It takes more than a sip of champagne.
Dennis has something in the back for you.
Well, first of all, some of the most special people around me. When I came here 20 years ago, it was 1 year later, Tricia arrived on the scene. And we were introduced right away. She was coming in from Lansing, and we've been great friends since then. So I love you. The governor, working with you and your team for the last several years has been just tremendous for me. Your team is very vibrant, very committed, very dedicated, but loves working as a team with us. And I'll miss them. I will miss them.
We'll still be here, and you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. Not yet. Suzanne. Because I don't want to get emotional. Suzanne, you know, you're right. I always did try to take care of, you know, board chairs, conference chairs. I always said the conference was the orientation for the board chair, right, Sandy? We always say, because they do more work.
We start them out at the hard job.
Yeah, that's right. But working with Suzanne was such a pleasure because this woman's so intelligent. You don't understand the national exposure of this woman and what she's accomplished in a man's world. So much that when I had the opportunity to work for her, she didn't realize she was mentoring me too. So I love her. B, what can I say? So this has been probably one of my best friends now for 19 years. I think it was 1 year after I think I came. and just been through so much. You know, you saw the crew up there on the video. I miss those guys. I haven't seen them in a while. Been through ups and downs, and he knows them all. And, you know, celebrating his family. I love his family. You know, Trudy, Dennis, the boys. You know, this is a fabulous family for Detroit. The Archer family is amazing. And we're very, very lucky to have them. But I've always been lucky to have Dennis, D, I only call him D. It's my friend, my really good friend. He's been there through a lot, and he's always there to guide me. And he's already said, I'm on board for T 2.0. So I guess, thank you, buddy. Sandy. Sandy gets a lot of accolades for being the CEO of the chamber. But Sandy's much more than that. He really is. He's a person that cares so much about our city, our state, our region, our team, our staff. I mean, Sandy will do things like most employers probably wouldn't do just because he believes it's the right thing to do for employees. And as I mentioned, I think it was yesterday or the day before, you know, I got some praise for this conference. Well, first of all, it's a huge team. Let me tell you, we've got 50-some staff here, I think, right?
Yep.
At least. Production crews we've worked with forever, everybody, but I had to, you know, also recognize Sandy because he's let us take so many bold steps forward with this conference. Let us spend some more money on speakers. But in return, we made him money, too, I will say. But Sandy's been just so special for me. He's my partner, my working partner. He calls me his work wife because I can't divorce him, as he says. But I mean, truly, working with Sandy has been such an honor, and I've learned so much from him coming in from D.C., especially, and where his strengths are and where he shines. And he really has stepped up our organization in that way. He calls people to come in for, you know, to do things that he knows from his DC days, but he really is taking good care of me.
Easy to do.
Thank you, sir.
Tammy, cheers.
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 Cheers. Cheers.
Governor, again, thank you so much. Amazing, as always, tour de force speech. Tricia, amazing job, and even better suit. I love that. Everyone, we have lots, you know, this concludes our programming in this theater, but we have a mayoral debate. We've got a PAC event with our quadrant leaders. We've got receptions around. So enjoy the evening, and thank you. Oh, group photo.
All right.
And that is going to do it for our 2025 coverage of the Mackinac Policy Conference. Don't forget that you can find all of the conference sessions on demand online at onedetroitpbs.org. I want to thank you to our partners at the Detroit